I was 15 years old when this happened. I live in Germany now, but back then I was still in my small home country. Every year, at the end of 8th grade, schools would organize a week-long field trip. In 2014, it was my turn. I had no idea that trip would turn into the most unnerving week of my life. There was a girl in my class named Jane. She had always been shy, quiet, the type of person everyone liked, but nobody really paid too much attention to. We had chatted on Facebook a couple of times, but that was it. I never had any feelings for her, positive or negative. She was just there. At the start of the trip, nothing seemed unusual. We arrived on an island, stayed at a small hotel, and the teachers kept us busy with tours and activities. But then I noticed Jane was around me more than usual, always walking close to me, always trying to start conversation. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. I didn't take it seriously, but then it escalated. She began touching me, hugging me, standing uncomfortably close. On the third day, our class went on a cruise to a nearby island. Jane sat beside me the entire time. She had a camera and started taking pictures of me. Not one or two for fun, but dozens. I asked her to calm down. She didn't stop. She just kept smiling, talking in fake accents, babbling nonsense to fill the silence. I forced a smile and replied, "That's nice," over and over, waiting for it to end. The next day was worse. She was clingy again, constantly reaching for me. Finally, I pulled her aside into the woods. I asked her directly, "Are you in love with me?" She denied it. She said it was all a misunderstanding. But then she told me about her home life, her mother's schizophrenia, her own depression. I felt sorry for her, but I still told her to stop touching me. While we were talking, my friends noticed I was gone and actually started searching for me. They found us in the woods. Jane stayed behind. I still don't know what she did after I left. Later, she showed up in our hotel room asking for water. She had her own room, so it didn't make sense. When we gave her some, she refused to leave. We finally told her we were going out to have fun, and only then did she go. That night, things peaked. I was walking with a friend along the shore when I turned around and saw her. She was following us. My chest tightened with a kind of dread I had never felt before. We ducked behind a big rock near a police station to hide. My friend joked that we should just tell the cops we had a stalker. She looked for us, but eventually gave up. The next day, my best friend stormed into her room and told her to leave me alone. I was angry at him at the time, thought it was cruel, but now I know he was right. Still, I felt guilty. Later, I went to Jane's room to apologize for how he treated her. She was lying in bed, sobbing uncontrollably. I calmed her down before leaving. That evening, a friend named Sarah invited me to her balcony. She was with two other girls, and they wanted to talk about Jane. They told me Jane hated life, that she was deeply depressed. As I listened, I happened to look out into the distance. And there she was, Jane, sitting alone on a rock, maybe 50 meters away, staring directly at me. Music playing in her ears, but her eyes fixed on me with a heavy, solemn look. It chilled me. "Just stay away from her," Sarah whispered before we all went back inside. Thankfully, that was the end of the trip. After we returned home, Jane started showing up at school less and less. Rumors spread that she had been sent to a psychiatric hospital, though I never knew for sure. Looking back, I learned something important. Sometimes you have to be firm, even if it feels cruel, because it's your life and you need to protect yourself first. This all happened many years ago. Sometimes when I think about it now, I can't help but feel old, remembering my school days. We went away for a weekend school trip. It was the very first time I had ever been selected to go. See, back then, I was known as the class clown, always pulling pranks on classmates and even teachers. Because of that, I was never chosen for trips like this. But that year, I've been on my best behavior, and this was my reward. My pranking days were supposed to be behind me. Before I go further, let me tell you about the teacher who led the trip, Mr. Smith. He was well known in the community, always organizing charity events, running marathons to raise money for the school, and doing everything he could to look like a role model. People trusted him, parents respected him, kids liked him, and on the trip, he really was full of humor. Funny, encouraging, always keeping us motivated in the activities. But on that very first night, I noticed something strange. He kept getting up out of bed, multiple times. At first, I thought it was because other kids were misbehaving and he was checking on them. Nothing happened to me that night, so I brushed it off. The next day, my friend dared me to pull a prank on Mr. Smith. At first, I refused. I told him my pranking days were over, but he kept pushing, and eventually I gave in. Just one last prank. That night, Mr. Smith left the room again, and he was gone for quite a while. While he was out, we set up the prank. We had some Scotch tape with us, and we made a web across the doorway, so he'd walk right into it when he came back. We waited and waited. I nearly fell asleep before the door finally opened. He walked straight into the tape, reacted instantly, and he knew right away it was me who set it up. My friends and I burst into laughter. To our surprise, he laughed too. But then he said something that made my blood run cold, though I didn't realize how disturbing it really was until years later. He looked at me and said, "You're very lucky this isn't the 70S, because I'd have come to you by now. And I would have enjoyed it too." At the time, we thought he was joking. He laughed afterward. Nothing happened to me. Nothing at all. But those words stayed in the back of my mind. For years later, the truth came out. Mr. Smith was arrested. He was exposed as a pedophile. The entire community was shocked, horrified. His arrest made headlines in our hometown. He had 44 cases of abuse against children. Most of them were girls. And 2 of those cases happened during that very trip I went on with him. I felt sick to my stomach when I learned that. A near miss. Too close. It got worse. He was even charged with attempted murder. One of his victims had threatened to report him, and he tried to kill her. Everyone in town turned on him. All those charity runs, all those school events, they had just been a disguise. A way to gain trust, to hide in plain sight while committing his crimes. He was sentenced to over 10 years in prison, but he served only 6. He was released under a new identity, arrested again later, and eventually he was murdered in prison. Even now, nobody mentions his name. It's like he's been erased. I'm grateful nothing ever happened to me, but I'll never forget how close I was to something terrible. Too close. For context, we're female. This happened in mid-February of 2020 when my friends and I were all 15. It was on a school trip to Italy. The trip itself was fine, but like dumb teenagers, we wanted to push the boundaries. The school had booked us into a budget hotel, nothing fancy. One night, 2 of my friends asked me if I wanted to sneak out with them, head to the beach. At first, I said no. I'm usually the sensible one, but they kept persuading me until I finally caved. After all, we'd only get one chance to do this, right? So we planned it out, waited until about 1 in the morning, messaging each other when to leave our rooms and meet in the corridor. There were only 3 of us. We didn't want anyone else knowing in case they snitched. The teachers were sleeping directly across from us, so we had to be silent. I still remember the fear of being caught and my parents finding out. But we slipped out, made it down to the lobby. Nobody was at the front desk, so we hurried outside before anyone could stop us. None of us spoke Italian. Looking back, it was one of the dumbest things we could have done. But in the moment, we felt unstoppable. We walked about 2 miles through the empty streets, smug that we'd pulled off our plan. To reach the beach, we had to walk down hundreds of stone steps. Plenty of time to reconsider, but we didn't. We just kept going. When we reached it, it was beautiful. A full moon lit the sand and the sea in soft silver light. The whole beach was ours. We laughed, messed around. Then my friends decided to wade into the water. I refused. Too cold, too risky. So they handed me their things, rolled up their trousers, and ran laughing into the waves. I filmed them, thinking the others would be jealous when they saw the pictures. But then they stripped down further. They wanted to swim in their underwear. I couldn't stop laughing. It seemed so ridiculous. I didn't realize how dangerous this night was about to become. They splashed, screamed, and giggled in the freezing water. I stood on the shore, watching, and that's when it hit me. That feeling, that instinct of being watched. I looked around. At first, I saw nothing. Then, I noticed them. 2 men, sitting in the dark, maybe 30 meters away. And one of them was holding up a phone, filming us. My stomach dropped. I called to my friends, trying to sound calm, but they could hear it in my voice. They scrambled back to shore, shivering, dripping wet. I told them. 2 men were watching us. And that's when we realized how much danger we were in. Nobody knew we had snuck out. As far as everyone else was concerned, we were asleep in our rooms. If these men decided to act, we could disappear. Nobody would know. I whispered, "We need to leave. Right now. Don't bother dressing. Just grab your things and walk away." They didn't argue. We tried to act casual, but fear is hard to hide. As we reached the steps, I glanced back. My blood ran cold. The men were on their feet now, walking toward us. I shouted, "Run!" Barefoot, soaked, leaving bloody footprints from the stone steps. My friend scrambled up with me. We didn't look back. We just ran until the hotel came into sight. Our legs burned. Our lungs screamed. But we didn't stop. When we burst into the lobby, the front desk was manned this time. The man working there said something to us in Italian. We didn't stop. We just kept going, bloody footprints trailing through the lobby. Back in the corridor, we swore to each other. No one could know. Not the teachers, not our parents. We would keep a secret, but secrets don't last. The next morning, a teacher, Miss Smith, pounded on doors, shouting, demanding to know who had left in the night. The front desk clerk had told her. My 2 friends eventually confessed. They left my name out, and I'll be forever grateful for that. The teachers were furious. They made my friends delete all the pictures. They got phone calls home. I stayed quiet, but inside, I kept replaying it. Those men, the phone, the way they started walking toward us. And I always wonder, what would have happened if I hadn't noticed them in the shadows?